You're listening to Infinite TBR, the podcast where we try not to buy more books. I'm Smack.
And I'm Gabi. Spoiler alert, we're going to avoid major spoilers, and when we can, warn when we're going to discuss a particular book in detail so you can avoid that part of the episode. You can also check the show notes for time-stamped flags identifying potential spoilers.
I don't know why there's an Omaha Steaks thing on the bookshelf.
So many questions.
So many questions. Anyway, what else are we talking about?
So that was pretty much Sirens, and then we were going to do the tier ranking of the previous Sirens list.
Oh, yeah.
Which you already did. I made a tier rank, you can do that online.
She made a structure, I guess, an outline.
And then sent it to Smack, who thought it was something that Sirens put out, so she did it.
Because it's a ranking system of very, internet-sounding rankings.
Yes.
One of them is meh. The other one is I have regrets, and they are many.
And this is all me.
Yeah, no, this was just Gabi made a great tier system.
So the
Sent
categories...
me the website.
Yep.
Go ahead.
So the categories are Can't Wait to Reread, is the top. The next one down is Solid Read, Would Recommend.
That's where most of my books went.
The next one is That Sure Is Something I Read. And then the next one's Meh. And then I Have Regrets, and They Are Many. And then sort of the special shelf. So that's the 5 basic ones. And then I have a DNF one for whatever reason. And I have a TBR,
titles we didn't get to.
Yeah. Well.
And haven't read, won't read.
Yeah, and then haven't read, won't read.
Those are mostly the ones that, I put one there that I knew was going to make me cry. Not even going to bother trying with that one.
Right, yeah. So the way the Sirens Reading list, at least this one was broken out, was 50 titles, and what you were supposed to do is, if you had already read them, you were supposed to select fillers from another list of...
Right.
Is it 50 or 25? 25.
Yeah. 25, and then the alternate list has 25
yes.
titles.
And I think you were a little bit more flexible on that rule than I was.
Yes. Well, I mean, I'm a little bit more flexible about most rules than you are.
Rules! Rules are there for a reason!
Are they, though? They're more like guidelines.
So we're going to go through, and so for the actual, so I didn't put all 50 on here.
Right.
I put just the ones that at least one of us read.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll start with A Feast of Sorrows by...
Angela Slater. I did not enjoy the last 3 stories, which really sort of, not wrecked it for me, but, I freaking loved the entire rest of the book so much. And then the last 3, I was like,
Okay. That's one where I remember reading that one waiting in the courthouse for jury duty.
That would be a weird one
This was
read then.
January 2020, I think.
Oh my goodness.
Or Whispers.
Right.
And, yes, it's very weird. Definitely ticks the weird box for you.
Yep. It's like reading...
Too much child molestation.
Yeah, there was a lot of, child abuse.
Child abuse and
they were very grim-like.
Yes.
Grimm.
Yeah.
Grim stories. Which, contains a lot of child abuse in those stories. Very realistic in that.
Yeah. The writing was beautiful. So if you set
amazing.
aside the child abuse, they were incredible and I loved them.
Yes.
Especially The Undertaker. Is that those ones?
Yeah, with the
she was a reoccurring character.
Yeah.
I liked her
really
stuff.
enjoyed how some of the characters would show up in other stories.
So I put this under That Sure Is Something I Read. And some of the aspects I was like, oh, this is so cool. And some things I was like, I'm surrounded by jury people.
And so I put it in Solid Read, Would Recommend. But those last 3 stories just kind of tipped it out of that highest category for me. What's the next one?
In Unkindness of Ghosts by River Solomon. That was an objectively incredible read.
Yes.
I put it under Solid Read, Would Recommend because
I did too.
The friendship vibes weren't warm and fuzzy.
The friendship vibes were very complicated and codependent and
but the main character was so good. Yeah, very messed up.
But
incredible book though.
You disliked the friendship stuff more than I did because the main character is pretty severely autistic.
Yes.
They live on a generational ship, and they live below decks, basically. And her best friend is severely unmedicated. And they implied she had bipolar disorder. They implied she might have more than that. Like, I don't even know. I don't want to guess. But, like,
Right.
I loved how, like, they were so awful to each other sometimes, but they also, like, clearly loved each other.
They were so awful.
They were so awful to each other. But, like,
It hurts my heart to watch people be awful to each other.
It. But, like,
Maybe,
all
like,
their limitations, and they still, like, took as good care of
that
each other
was-
as they could.
Yes. And that part was beautiful and incredible. It just, like...
Also, the ending almost destroyed me.
Oh my god. It broke me.
It's one of those ones where, like, you could take a guess either way.
Mm-hmm.
The less fuzzy way is probably what happened, but
No.
like...
After all that, everything worked out and they lived happily ever after. Okay.
Exactly. Okay.
So, yes, recommend that for everyone.
Oh, yeah.
It's just not in the highest for me just because, you know, sometimes I just need my warm fuzzy. That's all. Okay. Aru Shah and the End of Time by Roshani Chokshi. I would put that in solid read. That's just fun.
I did too. Yeah, it was a fun book. I don't read a ton of middle grade, but I enjoyed
Yeah.
that one.
And I've gone off about that one before, but most of the issues I have with it have to do with the editing. Content. Big Friendship, How We Keep Each Other Close. And that was by Anne Friedman and Anamatu. So they have a podcast together. They're adorable friends. You didn't read that one?
No, I did read that
Oh,
one.
you did.
That one went...
Aminatu So and Anne Friedman, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that one in my solid read would recommend tier as well.
Yeah, that's where I'd slap that one. It was just different. It was
Yeah.
a different nonfiction read. It was about a friendship and maintaining a friendship and how, you know, the work you put into a friendship shouldn't be different than the work you put into any relationship, but it's not treated the same way. And
I remember you texted me halfway through your read through, and you were like, if we ever grow apart, we have to get couples therapy, okay? I was like, okay.
well, part of my thing was because they have this podcast that's huge.
Yes.
And then they talked about how when their friendship became all about
the
work
podcast, yeah.
and the social media and they were long distance, I think, at that point.
And they weren't, like, communicating very well.
Yeah.
And they were communicating only for the podcast at some point. And
so they weren't connecting in the
Right.
same.
and they weren't, like, putting in the work,
Yeah.
basically. So they did go to couples therapy, and it did help. And they talked about other stuff they did, like a spa weekend or whatever, and, like, why that didn't actually help at all. It was a really interesting, very different
Yes.
sort of book. Blanca y Roja.
Oh, I can't decide whether to put
By
that in.
Anna Marie McLemore. Where did you put that one?
I can't decide whether to put it in meh or I have regrets.
I think I put it in meh. I mean, like, I love the premise of all of their different books, but I've read a couple now, and I have been kind of disappointed with each one. And not for any particular reason, they just don't really connect with me.
Yeah, same. Like, I'm not super engaged. They all make questionable decisions. I remember Blanca and Roja, I feel like their decisions really confused me. It was one of those, like, they made decisions very confident in the outcome of the weird magic, but there was that weird thing that I have where, like, they were so sure that this is the effect that their actions would have. And then they were right. That is, but they had no reason to think that action would lead to that outcome. Right. It was just wishy-washy. I have a feeling like this, if I do this magical thing...
everything will work out. Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It was...
And a lot of it was very interesting.
Yeah. But it doesn't have the solid world building behind it that numinous stories like those need. And they can be very sort of, like, ephemeral and conceptual or whatever, but, like, if the reader doesn't go along with their decisions, like, you're missing something.
Yeah.
So.
And they kept trying to save each other, which was sweet, but
also their parents were, like, pitting each other.
Yeah, their family was horrible.
Their family was weird.
Anyway, and then there were a bunch of murderous swans. I don't know what was up with the swans. Swans need to calm down.
So do real ones, apparently.
Yeah, I guess,
Bloody
yeah.
Minds. We've talked by Sammy Shelk.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about that a couple of times, I think.
Yeah, I put that under solid read. It was so smart.
Yeah, it was. If you try
Again,
to read
more
it,
horror or more
just
horror.
make sure you get through the introduction.
Yes.
That's the densest part. If you get
Yeah.
past that, you'll enjoy the rest of
Yes,
it.
and the more books you've read
Yeah.
that they mentioned, the better.
I think I'd only read one. So, like,
Yeah.
I still enjoyed it.
I only read Kindred by Octavia Butler, and then I was like, hey, I know all this stuff. I read it. But even if you haven't, it's super engaging.
Yeah.
Stuff I've never thought about.
What's the next one?
All those. Borderline.
By Michelle
by
Baker.
Michelle Baker.
I put that as a solid read. Would recommend. Most of the titles were solid. I read that one when it came out and I loved it.
Yeah.
But my second reread, I was kind of wasn't quite as in love with everything.
I liked it more than I thought I would. I loved all the different characters. It was another one of those, they're not very nice to each other.
They're really horrible
They're
to
really
each
horrible
other.
to each other. But it was like fast paced. It was interesting. The
And when
world
I
was
read it, I
cool.
was so excited to have urban fantasy and fairies in Southern California.
Yes.
They're in LA.
Yeah.
I was very excited.
Good stuff.
Burnout.
Burnout
By
Emily and Amelia Nagoski, I think. Now when we Google burnout, it's just, you have burnout. I know I do. Yeah, Amelia and Emily Nagoski, and they're
Okay.
sisters. I love this one. I would actually probably reread this one. It was helpful. I thought it was nice to have all of that stuff in one place.
Yes.
And reading it made me sit down and reflect on like what I was doing and what I wasn't doing well, and to remember like patterns of behavior that help, and to get I liked the running from the lions thing. I use that a lot now. I have to go run from some lions to trigger the stress, to get rid of because it basically starts with this idea that in like modern society, you're not dealing with the stress. You're dealing with the stressors.
Right.
By, taking things off of your task list and whatever. But from
Chemical,
a biological
physical,
level, in order to deal with the stress, you have to fight it or you have to run.
Right.
To wash it out of your system.
Right.
And we don't do that anymore because the stress, they're not life or death, actual life or death stressors.
They're not life or death stuff that you can run away from.
Yes. Or you throw a party. That was I remember that again. You throw a party with all of your clans people. So
The
you
one
need a
thing
way
I
to
remember,
wash out those chemicals.
They were saying about how like a lot of animals, once they get out of a really like high stress situation, they'll shake.
Yeah.
And that you can like
Imitate
induce
that. Yeah.
shaking to help. And I've done that a couple of times. I don't know if there's been any.
I know crying basically really helps me get
that
one
one.
out.
Yeah. But I
So I
actually
tried to be gentler on myself about that and like encouraging myself to cry to just
like
get
everything out. Yeah. That's good. I didn't actually. This was one of my 2 DNFs. I just couldn't get into it. Didn't like the writing. I wasn't learning anything.
A lot of it wasn't like groundbreaking or new, but for me it was a different way of looking at a lot of it.
Yeah.
And again, all in one place. The charts were fun. I remember the one thing that did annoy me was at one point they had a pie chart of how you could fit everything very easily into a 24-hour day. And I was like,
What?
It was a bit of a weird bit because most of it was solid, like whatever.
Right.
But they were like, if you block out this much for food, even if you're very generous about food and travel and work, you can have all this time built in for whatever. And like clearly it's not taken into account like executive dysfunction or like
Just mental stuff.
Yeah. So I didn't like that so much.
Yeah, that sounds.
But I remember that was the
ridiculous.
only point where I was like, Dread Nation by
Justina Ireland.
Thank you.
And
I am going to put that under that sure is something I read for me.
I think
I
that
would
one.
recommend it to certain people under certain circumstances.
Yeah, I put that in the meh column because
Okay.
it was fine. It was interesting, but I didn't run out and grab the sequel.
Right.
So
I did, but only because it was easy and fast read. And I liked it enough. Like, it was very different. It was I don't often read. I don't think I've ever read anything in that period before. Definitely nothing speculative
Civil War,
fiction.
right?
Yeah, Reconstruction era. And I don't read many zombie things.
Yeah.
And definitely not by any Black authors.
I know.
So it was a whole lot of things I don't usually do all in one.
Yeah. And
yeah,
it was
interesting characters, and the friendship, that main friendship was
really
great.
Cool. I had a weird...
That was like enemies to friends, and I was like,
that was I enjoyed the friendship a lot.
The only sad thing for me is that the friendship never, like, it was like headed in that direction, then never fully delivered, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Even in the sequel.
I had a hard time picturing the setting in the last, like, main... like the climax and the main confrontation, and I needed more on the setting. I had all these weird pictures in my head that didn't seem right.
Right.
And it bothered me.
I just kept picturing a deserted western town surrounded by a big old wall.
Right, but then they'd talk about, like, grass and green stuff, and then I was like, what?
Yeah, that's right. It always drives me nuts when I, like, have a place all pictured out and figured out, and then, like, a few chapters later, someone will throw in a detail, and I'm like...
So by the end,
I have to repicture the whole thing.
I was picturing like a suburban subdivision, and that just didn't seem right.
I was thinking like more plainsy Midwest stuff, so like grass, but not green grass.
I've only been out to the Midwest a couple of times.
It's an interesting place. You're better off. Eloquent Rage by Brittany Cooper. I would reread that. That was an audiobook.
Oh, I didn't get to
that great.
That was one of the ones that's on my TBR stuff.
She did her own audiobook.
Did she? Mm-hmm. Oh, that's cool. That's always interesting.
Her Body and Other Parties by
Carmen Maria Machado.
That's a Clarion person.
Yes, right? I went to a workshop with her in 2012.
She also writes like a Clarion person. I still don't know what that means.
Gabi has this weird skill now where she can read something speculative, and then she texts me and she's like, is this a Clarion person? Have they been to the Clarion Writers Workshop? And I was like, yes. How did you know?
I just knew.
Just knew.
Something about the writing style.
Which is hilarious.
Telling.
Your ability transcends individual years. Which means there's, like, something very similar about everyone's writing.
Or maybe you just read a bunch of stuff. The stuff that you recommend, you might just read a bunch of Clarion people.
That's very possible.
So,
I do read a lot of Clarion
sample,
people.
possibly. Need more.
Very likely, yeah.
More sample.
Yep.
Bigger sample size.
I'll just have to, like, secretly feed you Clarion books. Although, Borderline, she's a Clarion person, too. The Fairies in L.A.
Oh.
Yeah.
I would not have called that.
Yeah. Yeah, that one was different. But Her Bodies and Other Parties.
That one I put under solid read, would recommend, if only because some of them I got kind of confused.
Yeah.
And they were a little on the dark side, so I don't know that I'd reread it per se.
Yeah.
But I absolutely would recommend the writing.
Right. Yeah, I mean, Carmen's writing has always been very lyrical and dark and smart all at the same time. Clarion, the Writers' Workshop, is 6 weeks long. And week 2, she gave us this story about taking inventory of your things and your people at the end of the world. And we gave her our critiques, and then she went back to her dorm room, rewrote it, and sent it out, and then got accepted in like 48 hours.
Wow.
I know. So she was the first of us to publish anything,
wow.
and we knew she would go far. So, I mean, it's not always my favorite stuff just because there's a lot of sex in it, which...
Yeah. Yep, same.
A lot.
We came up at least once a story.
Yeah,
like,
every single story.
Okay.
But, like, there were some stories I really enjoyed. Just how freaking weird they were. She does weird very well.
Lagoon by Nydia Corafor. I haven't read that one.
I DNF'd it.
Should I read it? It looks like it's ocean themed.
It is ocean themed, sort of. It's alien themed.
Would I like it?
I don't know. I don't think you've read enough. Like, Nettie's work is always very weird.
Mm-hmm.
It's the stuff that I've read is usually like there are aliens, but we don't understand where they came from, and we don't understand what they want.
Okay.
And like, Lagoon was interesting. It just didn't keep me fully engaged. I did like, it was really different from most things I've read, and yet it still felt like a Nydia Corafor book.
Okay. So I haven't read any of.
I read a lot this last year. I didn't.
Yeah. You did.
Like, Like she just kept coming up, and I'd have these books.
And my cousin loves her.
Really?
So my cousin is Christina Marie Alangi. She has her own YouTube channel.
And TikTok.
And TikTok.
We will link those.
Dragons, Zombies, and Aliens. And she was raving about Nnedi Okorafor at Sirens.
Really?
Yeah.
I wonder if she read more than just Lagoon.
Right. I'm not sure which one she's read. I got the impression that she loved her enough that she either has read everything or intends to read, like one of those Insta, if she publishes something,
like
I read it. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
And then I still just haven't read anything, but Remote Control is on my snack shelf.
That one was weird.
Yeah, we've talked about that in ITBR.
And Lagoon, I think it was published quite a while ago at this point. It was also very weird. And there are multiple viewpoints, and it had all the hallmarks of something that I would enjoy. I think it was more my headspace at the time. I just couldn't get into it.
Okay.
But I think you might like it.
Okay. Well, I'll put it under TBR, and then as I acquire more of her stuff, I'll maybe figure out the vibe. And
yeah.
Was it a short?
Remote
Control?
It's 300 pages.
Oh, okay, so yeah, novel. Mm-hmm. Lumberjanes!
Loved that one.
By I'm thinking of Noelle Stevenson.
Oh, there you go.
And there are a bunch of other people, I think, involved in the graphic novels and artists, but I think she's
the main writer?
Maybe? I'm pretty sure her name comes first anyway, but, and that's her art on the cover for sure, but...
Yeah.
Oh, I love Lumberjanes.
We both went on to read a bunch of them.
I think we talked about that before in another episode too, but...
Yeah. Maybe a fox.
I don't know that I would reread this, but I am going to put it under Can't Wait to Reread because it was so good and got me in my feels so bad. It's very tragic. Kathy Appelt
and Allison
McGee, who I think did illustrations throughout. And you haven't read this one, right?
I put that one. Yep.
And I told you it was sad.
Yep. And I thought, I don't have the emotional bandwidth to be sobbing over a book if I don't have to be.
Yep. It was I think it was a middle grade. So I read it in one sitting.
And it's about grief,
yeah,
right?
It's about grief.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about her sister, basically.
Yeah. And sibling, no.
Nope. Mexican Gothic, which we've also talked about before, by Sylvia
Moreno Garcia.
This is on my...
You shouldn't read that one.
Oh, okay. You've said when I'm in the right headspace for it, I should.
Yes.
But I don't know when I will be in the right headspace. I still
stand by that, but I don't know when you're in the right headspace either.
So it's in my haven't read, won't read, but it will maybe move around. I'm feeling brave.
Yes. It was definitely a 5-star book. It was amazing on a technical and a prose and a character level and a thematic. It was amazing on every single level. It was also deeply disturbing and horror. It was really good horror, but there's body horror.
Right.
And sometimes I really like body horror. Hench. Hench was amazing with body horror.
I'm so excited about Hench.
But Mexican Gothic had some really squicky body horror going on. And I couldn't not finish it, but I was completely shell-shocked by the end. If you like horror, you should read it. I can't tell about the rest of us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You gotta be feeling strong.
Okay. Minor Feelings by Kathy Park Hong, which we've also discussed before.
Yes.
That's on my TBR. It's on my snack shelf.
That's where my copy went. Mine's on my solid read would recommend level.
Monstrous by Marjorie Liu, and who's the... Sana Takeda is the artist. I just love it. It's so beautiful.
It is really beautiful. I liked it a lot more the first time I read it, and the second one was I don't know.
I want to keep going, but I need them all because it's so easy. It's one of those ones you have to remember what's been going on to follow it.
And I didn't get enough emotional payoff in one.
Right.
And so if I had a bunch of them at once, I don't even know how many there are. I could see reading them all in a week or whatever, but the one by itself was fine.
The
but-
artist was, or the art's just
Yeah, the art
gorgeous.
is phenomenal.
I kind of want it just to sit there and look at the pretty.
Yeah, I definitely did that.
And the kid, the fox kid.
I know. She's adorable.
Warms
They are
my
adorable.
heart and kills me.
Yep.
Sing Unburied Sing
Unburied Sing.
by Jasmine Warren.
Jasmine Ward. You didn't read this one,
I
did
haven't
you?
read this one, should I?
Yes.
Okay.
It's not your usual fare.
I mean, I've heard good
And
things.
it's kind of rough at times, but it's a really short read.
Okay.
You'll blow through it. It's like barely more than novella length.
Oh.
And I read it in about 6 hours. No, less than that. I read it while they were doing like my forearm length tattoo. So I was in a real weird headspace, and there are ghosts and there's a lot of child like neglect. And yeah, there's like literal child abuse and like
Okay.
this dual timeline. So it's a good read.
Mm-hmm.
I don't actually know how much you'll love it, but it's a good read.
Okay. Slice of Cherry by
Dia Reeves.
Dia Reeves. I think I'm gonna slap that under meh. I don't remember that one super well.
I
It was
remember
just
you
sisters
weren't
being
impressed.
horrible.
Yeah, it's.
But it was quick and it was easy.
Oh, is it?
I think
haven't
so.
read it. I read one of Dia Reeves' other books,
Bleeding Violet?
Bleeding Violet. That was it wasn't an amazing book, but it was a book that I needed at the time.
I
But
don't remember what
you-
happens in Slice of Cherry. You don't remember if they do murder someone or if they talk about murdering
No, they
someone?
definitely do murder people. But I
Oh
want to
yeah,
say
there's
it's like
some
a
weird secondary work, like it's weird portal thing.
yeah.
They all
It
end
take.
up in.
I mean, most of her books I think take place in this one really weird town
Yes,
with
it was weird town.
portals to other places used as jails. I don't know.
And something about the
I don't remember.
sisters and something.
They're like serial killer sisters and they're
Yeah.
trying to outdo each other, I think. Did I make that up?
something like that. Yeah.
Something like that.
Beast Player.
Beast Player, we've discussed this one.
By Nahoko Uehashi. I'm gonna slap that under. That sure is something I read.
That's a good place for it.
The Blood Print by Ozma Sahanat Khan. Was it Sirens 2019? Guest of Honor, yeah.
No, 2018.
Oh.
I think.
2019, because I've only
2019?
been to 3.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Yes.
And it was
I
the
forgot
first
about
year.
2020.
We all forgot
I forgot about
2020.
2020. I didn't read that one either.
I did my 50%. Read a quarter, and then I was like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
And
I
like
read-
blazed through to
I read like the
50%
ebook
mark.
sample, and then you didn't like it, and I was impressed, so I didn't get around to it.
Yeah, I don't know. Something about it just didn't engage my
Yeah.
brain. And a lot of things about it were beautiful. I was interested in the world building. World building was really cool, but like,
Just didn't.
I don't know.
Didn't do it.
Just nope. The Book of the Unnamed Midwife.
By Meg Ellison.
Haven't read, won't read.
Yeah. That's, I think you created a category just for that one.
Yes, actually, that is
I have regrets,
why that
and they are
category
many.
is.
That is the only book that ended up in that category.
I think anything I would have reached the I have regrets and they are many ended up under DNF for me because I don't think I read anything all the way through.
I can't believe I read that one all the way through.
Except
It
maybe
would have
the
bothered
first
me if I didn't finish it, though. Like,
Right.
Yeah, so
Fair.
just need to learn to let go.
Yes. It's a hard lesson. It's
Yeah.
easy to forget. The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin.
You love
I love it
that.
so much. I can't wait until they're all out.
The dog has come in to give her a weird look for that noise. Hi.
Slap that right up at the top. Can't wait to reread it.
I put it in the solid read would recommend.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm even going to read the sequel, though. I know. Because I feel like I'd have to reread the first one.
Yeah?
And I don't know if I want to reread the first one.
The Deep and Dark Blue. That was really...
Who's that by?
I don't know if we said before, but The City We Became is about the personified neighborhoods
Boroughs.
boroughs of New York.
Yeah.
Have to Wake Up and Save the World. Nikki Smith. The Deep and Dark Blues by Nikki Smith.
I think I put that under meh.
It's another siblings.
It was good.
Learning their magic. It wasn't everything that I hoped it would be. I put it under solid read, would recommend, because there are a lot of things I really, really loved about it, and it was really close to a perfect read for me. But I feel like it just didn't go... It was weird. It got weirdly tragic at the end.
Yeah.
It made me cry.
Did it really?
Yeah.
It did not make me cry, but it was, I mean, it was good.
I was sad. I didn't get quite the emotional satisfaction I think I was aiming for, but...
The dog is distracting
But I did
me.
enjoy
I'm so
it.
sorry.
The Empress of Salt and Fortune.
I
by
loved it. That was amazing.
Nevo.
Yes.
So good.
Yeah, that was awesome. And I have reread the sequel to that multiple times.
So good.
The
Four Profound Weaves by
R.B. Lemberg.
R.B. Lemberg. I can't decide if I think I would reread that.
I put that in my meh thing. It was very beautiful writing. It was fine.
I love the world building.
Yeah, the world building was pretty cool.
And I read some of the short stories around it too, because I have that thing where I have to read everything in order.
Everything, yeah.
And it was weird it was hard to get into the world building.
Okay.
So, because you start with a short and you're like, what are the rules for this magic thing they're doing? And then, the more you absorb, the more I'm just like, yes, more! Give me more! Oh boy.
The Lost Coast by Amy Rose Capetta. What did you think about this one?
I put this under solid read, would recommend. It was very good. I don't know if I would bother to reread it, but I would for sure recommend it to Miranda. Mm-hmm. The vibes were good.
I really enjoyed the vibes.
Mm-hmm. It reminded me of the Raven cycle.
Oh, did it?
But better. In my opinion. But
I have
the
not
Raven
read the
cycle.
Raven cycle.
They're mean to each other.
I know.
That's
all I know about it.
Because that's all I say about it every time I bring it up. The Mirror Wife by Maria Devana Headley.
I have not read that one. It's on my TBR.
That's another one. I'm going to put it under solid read, would recommend.
But it sounds like you wanted to put it under that sure is something I read.
No, I actually am thinking about putting it under can't wait to reread.
Oh, really?
It's just sad enough that I don't know that I'd want to put myself... Well, I don't know about sad, but
It's a retelling of...
Beowulf
from the monster's mother's, Grendel's mother's point of view.
Oh, it is sad.
And it's in suburban America.
Yes.
I don't know how it couldn't be sad.
It's like a modern... I can't remember if
I can't imagine it wouldn't be tragic.
Well, I can't remember if the characters I care about managed to sneak away to live happily ever after.
Oh,
or if I just filled that in my brain because that's how I want it to end.
Oh boy. So I am going to read it at some point.
But yeah, I think you'll really like it. It was so good. That's the thing, is it was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually I'm going to bump it up to... I would reread that, actually.
Oh, wow. I did not expect that.
I think.
The 7 Necessary Sins for
Women and Girls.
By...
Mona El-Tahawy.
Mona El-Tahawy.
Mm-hmm. I put that in our solid read, would recommend. I mean, it's non-fic book about...
This activist.
Mm-hmm. Kind of framing each of the 7 sins in terms of, this is why women should be allowed to do it, basically.
Yeah.
So each one's an interesting, angry essay about that topic, and it was really interesting. She's had a lot of very interesting experiences.
Yeah.
And I'd love to read more about those. So for me that was solid. I don't remember being yes, this was incredible, give me more, but I remember being
but enjoying
good
it,
vibes, yeah. What about you?
I'm sort of in the same boat. It was interesting. It was something I think I would have enjoyed more. I would have needed more if I was a little younger.
Yeah. Yeah. Stars Are Legion by Cameron Hurley.
How would you categorize this one?
This is impossible to categorize.
On every level. I think I would actually... I mean, I didn't when we first did this, but I think I would actually reread it.
I definitely wouldn't reread it. I think there's so many, like, groundbreaking, incredible things about it that I also can't say... Like, I do have regrets. And they are many.
Oh my god.
But I'm also glad I read it. Like, it was just fascinating.
Yeah, it was a weird book.
It was gross.
Yeah, it was.
And weird.
More body
it was a little
horror.
too weird for me. But, and this was another audiobook, which might have been part of my problem.
Yeah, I would not have wanted to do that as an audiobook.
World building was incredible. The characters were interesting.
The world building was, like, visionary.
Yeah.
It was...
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so good.
Yeah. So I honestly, like, don't know.
You
that
can,
sure is something I read.
Yeah, you can appreciate something's caliber and still not enjoy it.
Yes.
That is allowed.
I'm not even sure I'd say I didn't enjoy it. It was weird. And then, like, the main relationship, I remember, like, they were both, it was one of those, they were both trying to save each other, and they're both
messed up. The main, I mean, like, the ending sort of sorted it out.
But not enough in an emotionally satisfying way for me.
Oh, okay.
Like, they're, because they're apart for most of the book.
Right.
And at the very end, it's like, boop! Instead of, like...
Well, I mean,
soak
I don't
in the reconnection.
because I don't want to, like, spoil it. But, like, at the end, like, it's pretty clear they're not going to be together.
Oh, I don't remember.
Oh, yeah.
I remember the big journey up from the center of the earth.
Yes.
I mean, at the end, with squids.
They came back together, and they sort of reconciled as much as they possibly could, but, like, it's very clear they're not going to be together. It's not healthy. There's too much that they can't overcome. Okay. So that was our giant relief. That is too unhealthy of a relationship to continue. I was very glad it wouldn't.
Okay.
Yeah. And then there's the woman that got her tongue ripped out by one of the...
Ooh.
By the love interest. Do you remember that?
No, I don't!
So there's this woman who got her tongue ripped out by the love interest.
Bump this down. Clearly blocked a lot of this.
So that she wouldn't rat out the love interest to the main character.
Yes.
And so there's this kind of, like, frisson of, like, oh, maybe the main character and this woman who had her tongue ripped out will find happiness together.
Okay.
It was a really weird book. And it had a very unconventional ending in terms of, like, the relationship payoffs.
Maybe I do just have regrets. The Tiger's Daughter by Kay Arcelor-Rivera. That's on my can't wait to reread.
You have a lot of those up there.
I do.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I have strong feelings, and they must be heard. Yeah, freaking love that trilogy. Really can't wait to read. That's why I wrote that category. This is for Tiger's Daughter.
It is on my TBR.
This Accident of Being Lost, and I know the author's name is one I'm gonna butcher.
I cannot wait to reread This Accident of Being Lost.
Leanne Bedasamosake Simpson.
Apologies to Leanne when we butcher her name.
Yes.
It was amazing. It was angry and expansive. Mm-hmm. And, God, I just love me some rage.
Yep. This is
she's
speculative poetry or just...
I don't remember.
I wouldn't.
She's an indigenous poet. And so I think there was some speculative stuff. There must have been, or it wouldn't be on the Sirens list. But it was just, the poetry was so good. It was just gorgeous words and angry words and just this scathing commentary.
Yeah, it was incredible. It's another one that I kind of just want to throw at everyone.
I definitely did throw it at people at Sirens.
Would find more of her stuff.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Trail of Lightning.
Trail of Lightning. I put that in can't wait to reread.
By
Rebecca
Roanhorse.
Oh my god, I can't believe I almost forgot.
I just knew there were R's.
Mm-hmm. She has also been a guest of honor.
Yeah. Also 2019. Yeah. Okay. Must have been 2019.
Yeah.
Only been to 2 in person. Anyway.
It's urban. It feels like urban fantasy, but it's technically post-apocalyptic indigenous speculative fiction, where the rest of the world drowned, and the Navajo reservation in I don't know where.
Probably Arizona, New Mexico.
Probably in that area. Did not drown because they have a giant wall and their apocalypse already happened. So.
Huh. I wonder why.
Yep. But like I was in need of like really good urban fantasy that didn't just retread all of the like 2008 tropes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And
it did that.
Trail of Lightning delivered. I have read it multiple times. I fully intend to read it again when the third book comes out. I love it.
I put it under solid read recommend. I will reread it when all of them are out. I didn't
2 more to go.
Love it so much that like I would read it again and again. But it was different. It was great. It
was excellent.
We'll see how the relationships resolve.
Did you read the sequel?
Mm-hmm. Storm of Locusts, yep.
Did you like it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't remember much about it. It's been a while now.
It's been a while. It's been a minute.
I remember liking both of them and thinking they were solid, but I think...
You were really concerned about if you read the third book, the second to last book in a series always has a terrible cliffhanger. So you're not going to read them till the last one comes out.
Correct.
Okay.
Unless you read it and clear it.
Okay.
That's allowed. You're allowed to say...
I cleared the second one, and you were still like, I'm not sure about this. Semi-angry.
Oh.
Clearly it didn't stick.
No.
Okay.
I definitely read it.
Trouble the Saints by Elia Dawn Johnson.
Dina.
We've talked about this one.
Yep.
So
did you reread? Slap it under reread?
No, I don't.
Where did you put it?
Solid read, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, it is. Solid read, would recommend. I don't know if I could put myself through the emotional ringer again.
I don't know if I can put myself through the emotional ringer once.
I'm really glad I did that one time. I think I would get more out of it on a second reread.
Yeah, it probably seems like one of those ones where you'd get more and more with every read. Mm-hmm.
Like, it would be an excellent book for, like, a class.
Oh, it'd be so good for a class.
Where you could, like, study parts of it. Oh, sounds amazing.
2 Moons?
2 Moons? 2 Moons.
I don't know what that is. It's not one of mine.
I think it's on your Smack shelf.
Is it?
It might be. Because I certainly owned it. It's a bunch of short stories.
Oh, I got it. By Crystal A. Smith.
Yes, that sounds right. I liked it. I thought the prose was a little weak, but the stories were like, they were varied and they were original and they were interesting. But the first story was my favorite by far, and so everything else felt a little like a letdown.
Right. It is not on my Smack shelf.
It's possible I didn't even give it to you.
Do you think I'd like it?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. That's probably why you didn't give it to me.
I mean, like, if I haven't... It's not a bad read. It's just not super...
Right.
Gabi. It's not a Gabi read.
Not a Gabi read.
Not a Gabi book.
Not a Gabi book. We Ride Upon Sticks.
By...
Quan Berry.
What did you think of that one?
I would put it under that sure is something I read. It was very good. It just, like, so many vibes just that aren't... I
have so many opinions about this book. It's absurd.
The point of view I thought was incredible. The way it was
The point of view was amazing. It's first person plural throughout the entire book. And it follows this... I think they're in high school? High school girls field hockey team in 1989 in Danvers, Massachusetts, which used to be part of Salem, Massachusetts. Right. And so these girls make a deal with the devil in order to become better field hockey players. And the devil in this story is the notebook with a pop star on the cover.
Is it a pop star? For some reason I thought it was like a soccer player or something. Know. I don't know.
I thought it was pop.
I don't know who it was.
I don't know who it was either.
The point is it's some celebrity
on a notebook. And they all write their names in it, like in the devil's book or whatever.
And I don't think it's ever made clear whether they're actually doing something magical.
It was clear until the epilogue or the last chapter.
Okay.
And then it became unclear for me. But the point of view, like, anyone can decide to do first person plural point of view. It's not...
To pull it off is...
Yes. And to have, like, an actual reason behind it that you don't necessarily get at the beginning I mean, that for me was part of the payoff.
Right.
Was to see where, like, why it originated the way it did and where it went. And, like, it was really awesome writing. I generally really like it when poets start writing novels because, like, they do weird shit, like the point of view and weird...
They break the rules.
Yeah, they break all the rules that most novelists wouldn't even think to break. Right.
So in those ways it was incredible. I'm just, like, don't really care about field hockey, and I don't really care about the 80s.
I played field hockey when I was in 5th grade, I think it was. I played on an adult team.
Ooh.
Because I was the size of an adult in 5th grade. And my 5th grade teacher got us onto the field at the Olympic Training Center down south.
Ooh.
I know. I didn't realize it was super fancy until later, but it was very fancy. And the first couple of times it was a bunch of 5th graders playing her adult team, and then I got to join her adult team. And I really enjoyed it. Because I was so tall growing up, like, I was always the biggest person on the field, and nobody could knock me over, whatever. These adults did not treat me like a 10-year-old. And I loved it. I had so much fun. So, like, I have a special place in my heart for field hockey to begin with.
Okay.
The 80s vibes I don't really care about. That's not my thing.
Right.
But the downside of poets writing novels is that they don't usually have a strong grasp of story arc.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, the ending really fizzled for me. But it was a weird book.
Yeah.
And it's possible that
very witchy.
Yes.
I liked how it was, like, the whole, like, deal with the devil was more like giving them a way to support each other to make the brave decisions as teenagers that they may not be able to without, like, that extra...
Yeah, the extra, like, sparkle of evil.
And things that aren't even necessarily evil. It was just...
Yeah, no, it was more subversive.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it was stuff that in the 80s would have absolutely been classified as evil. But, like, it wasn't. They never do actually anything that bad. No. Even though, like, their deal with the devil is that in order to, like, maintain this power, they have to do increasingly, quote-unquote, evil deeds. I don't know, it's just a really interesting book.
It was a very interesting...
Whipping Girl by Julia Serrano.
Which we've talked about before.
Yes, that is on my can't wait to read.
Yeah, that's what I will put way up there.
You ended up with a lot more can't wait to read.
Again, strong feelings.
Strong feelings. I had a lot
big feelings
of solid recommendations and a fair amount of meh. Like ones I've read and I'm like, okay.
Yeah. So that was
our Sirens reading list of 2021.
Yeah. And I think that is everything we wanted to hit regarding Sirens.
Yes.
And then this year, we have a break, which we have mixed feelings about.
Yes. The break from the reading list is really going to help.
Yes.
Help with backlist. Like, it's...
And I don't know that I'll do the reading list again unless it's a theme / a list that I'm already have, like, most of the books. Mm-hmm. Or that I'm unduly excited about. Or
I like that. Unduly excited.
Like,
excessively excited.
Like, if the theme was indulgences.
Sure.
I'd be like, okay. Dragons? Okay.
Yeah.
Like, it would have to, like, really nail my vibe. I think. Or you'd have to trick me into it again with a spreadsheet.
It really didn't take much.
No, it didn't. Really didn't.
So it's going to depend on whether or not I do it. Because I'm not doing it without you. And I will make a spreadsheet if I'm doing it.
I just have so many books.
I have so many books.
That I just, like, want a chance to get through some of those.
I bought a bunch of books recently, which we will discuss in the next episode. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I am actually really relieved to be able to read some of my own books.
Yes.
Without a list hanging over me.
Because it really
not that
does.
It wasn't fun.
No, it's not fun. No, sorry. Yeah, it is fun. It's not fun. But it is, like, just always there in the back.
And it's a multi-year thing at this point.
Yes.
Like, 2018, 2019... You didn't do 2018.
No.
2019...
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I went... I don't remember how many years it's been.
I did it the first year, 2019.
Mm-hmm. And I did it the year before, or I tried
Oh, no,
to.
sorry. I didn't do it 2019 because that was my first year.
Okay.
And I did 2020 and the pandemic happened, so I didn't get my bragging rights.
Right. That's
So
true.
then
That's
I did...
like 3/4 of the reward here.
Yes. You get a pin.
Yeah.
It says I did the reading
And if anybody
list.
says anything, you say, oh yeah, that was on the reading list. I finished that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So
Very
you know what people are
suave.
talking about a lot. So,
Yeah.
But yeah. So that was Sirens. So
Till next time.
Till next time, here's hoping that
You
Sirens
have a
people get a chance
really
to rest.
lovely break. Yes.
And all of you too.
Everyone else as well. But
Everyone
especially
else
Sirens people.
who's burnt out.
Yes. Oh my god.
Rest. Good night.
Oh my goodness.
This has been another episode of Infinite TBR. You can find us on our Twitter at Infinite TBR.
And we are individually on Twitter as @WhatSmackSaid and @Gabalodon, which is like Megalodon but Gab in the front of it. And you can find all our show notes at infinitetbr.com. If you have book recommendations for us or questions you want answered during the podcast, feel free to email us at itbrshelf@gmail.com.